My name is Lisa, and I'm an internal support coordinator with WEX FSM. I wanted to welcome you all to today's session of Solution Studio. There'll be 20 sessions in the rotation of this webinar series that will cover different features of the software. The first 4 days of the week will cover different features, and Fridays will be reserved for question and answers on that subject matter. To access the sign-up calendar, go to the Help Center and click on Search for Help. Search Solution Studio, and the article will come up that contains the calendar and the previous webinar replays so that you can review them as needed. Yesterday was our first one that was on accounts receivable and accounts receivable aging, and that's been loaded so that you can go take a look in case you missed that one. Remember, these sessions are not a replacement for customer support. It's kind of like using 911. If you're having an issue or something is not working in your system, remember to reach out to customer support right away. Don't wait for a webinar. We have a whole team waiting to help you. So go to your help center on the bottom right-hand side of your screen and click Contact Support. Let them know your question or issue, and they will be there to help you. So how do these sessions work? I'll do a quick walkthrough of how a feature works and then go over a few examples, best practices, or identify information in your system that might be part of that feature. Then we'll open it up for the question and answer, and you can start putting your questions in the chat now so that if I see them as we're going along, maybe I'll answer them as we're right on that topic. So if you need additional assistance after we get done with the Q&A, I can assign you to a breakout room for some real-time assistance with some members of our support team who are on here as well. They can show you how to get set up correctly for a feature, teach you how to resolve an issue yourself, or fix an error so that you feel comfortable using the feature and know where to look when something looks off. So today's subject is resolving sync errors. So this can be a pretty large subject, but I first want to put out a disclaimer there. Before you make any changes in your QuickBooks, make sure to check with your accountant because we here at WEX are not accountants. So please always make sure to reach out to your accountant if you have any accounting questions. Also, some functions like merging cannot be reversed. So you will need to make sure all the information from the child customer has been copied to the new parent customer, or that information will be lost in the merge. So if you're ever unsure about making a merge, don't do it. Check to get some help. You can reach out to your accountant. If you just need help making the merge, you don't feel comfortable making the merge, we can reach out to customer support. We can show you how to do this. Or you can come back and review this session so you can see how I showed you how to do it. Okay, so let's get started. Let me change my screen here for you. Okay, so this is my test account, and I also have a test QuickBooks account. And I go in here to break things. So some things are not always quite as clean as you probably have your books, but they're here for test purposes and so that I can show you how things work in the system. Just a quick little recap. QuickBooks Desktop requires a sync tool. And so that sync tool will be loaded, and it kind of looks like this. And you can set it up to auto sync. You can manually sync. And as a business, you can decide what's best for you. QuickBooks Online does not require a sync tool. It comes up and is connected up here in Settings and Accounting and Tax Settings. Let me move that little guy out of the way. And it's going to make me log back in because I've had it open too long. Okay, up here in Settings, Account and Tax Settings. And this is where you connect. When you are set up for QuickBooks Online, you're going to have a little notification here that says QuickBooks Online. It will have a place for you to log in with your QuickBooks admin user and password, so it will connect directly to Intuit, and it will sync every 10 minutes, whether you want to it or not. There is no controlling it like with the regular sync tool. Okay? So one of the things that we have as a resource for you, and sometimes it's kind of overlooked, is on the invoice list, there's sync support. There's a sync guide here. There's a list of all the sync errors we have and solutions on how to fix them. There's an overview of QuickBooks Desktop Sync. If you're an online person, it's going to show up as QuickBooks Online. Invoice field mapping so that you know what from your invoice hits where in QuickBooks, because sometimes it's kind of hard to imagine the mapping, so this will help you. And some information about how to manage your invoice list. So QuickBooks syncs three things for the most part. Your customers, and they'll have a sync status here, your invoices, and your payments. Now, when we were in the accounting and tax settings, think of WEX FSM as a box that sits on top of QuickBooks. Everything that you enter, customers, payments, and invoices in WEX FSM syncs down to QuickBooks. Very few things sync back up. So this is the section where some of the things that sync both ways. If you have classes, if you have accounts, income, liability accounts, inventory parts, tax settings, and tax groups, they'll sync both ways. So if you create a tax group here in WEX FSM, it will sync to QuickBooks. And if you create one in QuickBooks, it will sync to WEX FSM. So just remember that it goes both ways. You don't have to come in and create one here and then go into QuickBooks, because then you're going to have two. You can deactivate them by clicking the little red dot. And if you need to see the groups or anything, there's a little arrow right next to that red dot that you can check to see if it has a parent and a child. Okay. So when you first started, the data team loaded your data, and they tried to get everything mapped correctly if you loaded from QuickBooks or QuickBooks Desktop to WEX FSM, so that when you have a customer and you have activity on a customer, it's going to sync back to the correct customer in QuickBooks. Sometimes it gets misaligned. And so, or someone goes in and creates a second customer because they don't really realize the other one was there. They can't find it. So I have a customer who's Jack Dawson, and I also have Jack D. Dawson. If I come up to search and I search Dawson, both options come up. They're exactly the same location. They have the exact same phone number. They have the exact same email address. So it's a pretty good bet that it's a duplicate. So what do you do if you have a duplicate? You need to decide whether you are going to merge this. And it could be that you have a duplicate here, but only one in QuickBooks. You may have one in WEX FSM and two in QuickBooks. So this takes a little detective work to figure out which is the correct customer that's mapped from WEX FSM to QuickBooks. Because if you merge the wrong way and you merge this Jack Dawson into this Jack Dawson and then go into QuickBooks and reverse it, the next time you have activity on Jack Dawson, it'll sync over another duplicate and you'll be right back where you started. So we want to keep this as clean as possible, make it as simple as possible to merge so that you can make sure your books stay as clean as possible. So I see I have two Jack Dawsons here. I'm going to go to QuickBooks and pull it up in here. And lo and behold, I have two here too. So how would I merge these? How do I know if they're the same? The address is the same. The email is the same. Everything looks the same, but this guy up here has activity and this one doesn't. So one of the things that you might want to do before you merge is make a backup. Because if you make a mistake, you can always use your backup. But if you know that these are the same, I would make sure that you check to make sure that the email is correct on the parent, because we're going to choose one of these to be a parent and one of them to be a child. And so let's say I merge Jack D Dawson into Jack Dawson. If he has a different email address here or a different mailing address or some other information on his setup, so I had Jack Dawson in there originally. My tech was out in the field. He couldn't find him. So he created Jack D. Dawson. Okay. And Jack D. Dawson updated his email address. Jack Dawson wouldn't have that correct email address. And if you merge them, you're going to lose it from here. So make sure that you copy any information that you need from the child to the parent so that that way the information is correct. Now going to make this go down, in WEX FSM, if you have something where the name is just slightly different, you may be able to identify it. So you can go in here and you can say, I'm going to choose these two to merge, and that engages the merge button. So when you click merge, don't worry about it. You have extra steps. It's not going to do it right away. You get to choose which one is going to be the parent, or we call it the master. So this one has one active location. It has one invoice. Okay. It doesn't have any appointments, but this one has nothing. So I know Jack D is going to be my child account. And so I will choose Jack Dawson to be my master. And you get a warning. You get lots of warnings in our system that are little yellow boxes. So make sure you read these. They get overlooked a lot. So all data from other customers will be merged with the selected master. Not performing this merge in QuickBooks will result in sync errors if the master selected in the QuickBooks is not the same as the master select in Payserware, now known as WEX FSM. And they're even going to make you check that you confirmed this before you can merge. So if you merge it in QuickBooks first, confirm it here, then you can go ahead and hit merge, and it will make one customer. And my master is going to be just plain old Jack Dawson. So how would I do this in QuickBooks? So if I open QuickBooks back up, I come to Jack Dawson. Jack Dawson is the one that I want to be as the master or the parent. So I would copy Jack Dawson's name, and I would cancel this, and I would go into Jack D. Dawson, and I would highlight the name and paste it in there. Okay, now when I go to save and I go to hit OK, it says this name is already being used. Would you like to merge them? And you say yes. And when I do that, that will only make Jack Dawson. Jack D. Dawson and all of his information, all of his invoices and everything like that will go into Jack Dawson. Now, like I said, his setup, his address information, his other information will not, but all the invoices and that type of thing will go in. So you want to make sure that you have the correct email address, you have the correct billing address. I'm going to keep this as no so that I can use this again next time, but it's basically just copying and paste and then saying yes. And then it tries to tell me there's already a duplicate. Okay, so for my next webinar, I still have Jack. And if you're familiar with who Jack Dawson is, that's a Titanic reference. So I have a strange sense of humor, but Jack Dawson is my test customer here. Okay. So now we have how to merge customers. So if you want to get out of this, all you have to do is uncheck it and close it out, and then uncheck these guys.
Hey,
Okay.
Lisa, can I add something if that's okay?
Sure.
Hey, this is Tim. I am the Tier 2 team lead here at WEX. Just a word of advice when merging customers. Just be extraordinarily careful about which one we are picking as essentially the parent account. Because once they are merged, unfortunately, we would be unable to kind of unmerge them. So it is like a final thing once that merge button is selected.
Yes, and that's pretty much the same with any merge in our system. There used to be a way that if you merged a location, you could get it back, but I'm not even sure you can do that now. So make sure that when you do the merge, there is no going back. And like for QuickBooks, it's the same as well. And so that's why I let you know if you want to go ahead and make that backup in QuickBooks so that you have it in case something goes wrong. And you should be making backups anyway, daily. So thanks, Tim, for that. Okay. see. So now we have customers. Customers have sync errors as well. Sometimes you have, especially QuickBooks Online, sometimes you'll have one customer in WEX FSM, you'll have one customer in QuickBooks, and there'll be a sync error when it goes over. And it'll say customer not found, error 101. And basically, that means that it's not mapped correctly. There's one customer in WEX FSM and one in QuickBooks Online, and it can't seem to find it. And if the customer doesn't sync, no invoices, no payments can follow. So you have to make sure that the customer is good. And one of the things that you can do with QuickBooks Online is, let me go find Jack Dawson. Anything red in our system, you can click on and it'll take you there or it'll do something. So Jack Dawson was going to be my master. I was going to merge everything into him. And we have up in the URL, we have a customer number up here. Okay. And when you open, I don't have QuickBooks Online to be able to show you, but when you open the customer in QuickBooks Online, it will have a number as well in the URL. So if they're not making that connection, this needs to be updated and mapped, and it can only be done by a support request. So what you would do is you would say, okay, this is my Jack Dawson. I only have one here, and I only have one in QuickBooks, and it's giving me that error. You can create a ticket or reach out to customer support and say, hey, I've got QuickBooks Online and I believe I have my customers not mapped correctly. You can take a screenshot in WEX FSM showing this URL, and you can take a screenshot in QuickBooks and show that one and then give the error. So if you would go back to the customer over here, when you hover over here, it'll give an error. So 3 screenshots and send that in to customer support. And unless they have any questions, they should be able to get that resolved for you. So it should sync successfully for you. It just needs to be remapped. And when we load data, we map it, okay? But sometimes it doesn't quite make the the link. Like say you were in the middle of loading data and you forgot that you were supposed to do everything in WEX FSM and you created one in QuickBooks but not in WEX FSM or one in both. They don't talk to each other because it wasn't created in WEX FSM. Once you get that go live date, everything should be created here in WEX FSM so that it can be mapped correctly to QuickBooks. Now, when we load the data, sometimes you have invoices that are created in QuickBooks or another system that's loaded in here. Since it wasn't created in our system, it's easier to kind of think of it as a PDF. A PDF, you can't really do anything. You can't change it. It doesn't do anything. And it's not really linked to anything. It's just like a piece of paper sitting there. So that invoice that came from your other system is a placeholder in our system. So if it was unpaid and you go live and you go to take a payment for it, let me get over to the payment list. I don't think I have any, but you would create a payment for it. Your customer is mapped because we mapped the customer, but we couldn't map the invoice because it's kind of like a piece of paper sitting there. So when you go to take a payment on your customer, you're going to see that invoice and you can take a payment and it will be ready to sync and it'll error out. And it'll say an error like sync to the customer but could not be assigned to the invoice. And when you first start, sometimes that happens because you had a couple of invoices that weren't paid. So you would review this and say, okay, it is married to my invoice here in WEX FSM. It's got a check mark. And you go over to your customer in QuickBooks. Let me pull up QuickBooks again. So many buttons, so little time. And see, okay, it is on here as an unapplied payment. This is a payment that I had for another reason on here to show. But if there is an invoice here and there is a payment here, the balance may be zero because it will balance each other out. So you could have a $500 invoice and a $500 payment, and the balance would be zero. but you still have to assign the payment to that invoice to make sure that your AR is correct. And you may have this happen several times when you first come. And if you've been with us for some time and you didn't realize that was happening, you may have some of those. So when you do your AR aging, you may see that there are some payments that aren't assigned, things like that that you can go back and clean up because now you know that it says that there's an error that it actually made it to QuickBooks and it made it to the customer because it's mapped to the customer, but it just can't assign to the invoice. So once you review these, you can set it to off because that's kind of your way of keeping your payment list clean. Because if you fix it and don't change it, and then every time you come back in, it's still going to be sitting there and you're going to have to double check. So we want to make this as quick as and efficient as possible for you. So you set it to off, and then you know that you've taken care of that error. So in the future, on that same customer, when you create an invoice in our system and you take a payment, the customer will go back to ready to sync because there's activity on the customer. The invoice will sync and the payment will follow because they're all mapped from this system to QuickBooks. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Does anybody have any questions that they want to put in the chat so we can start going over those as well when we get to the Q&A section? Just reach down and click on chat and type them in. Now we also have invoice lists. And this is where we would find any sync errors for the invoice list. Remember when I said you can hover over them and see? It says navigate to the admin back office settings and ensure that all income and liability accounts are synced. If any accounts are displaying error, make sure they sync successfully before attempting to sync the invoice again. So maybe you went into QuickBooks and deactivated an account or changed something in there and it doesn't match anymore. Okay. So you can come in here, and one of the nice things about the invoice list is you don't have to click on the invoice and open it every time. You can come over here and say, okay, I can see what the problem is right now. I deactivated this income account and it was just not working well for me, so I got rid of it. So I can come in and I can change it to my 2026 income account and hit save, and it'll go back to ready. And it will go in the next sync. Okay. And you do that with all of the ones that you come in here. And the nice thing about this is you can sort this by errors, not readies. Anytime you have a box in the system that does not have a drop down, it's a multi-select. So you can choose all of your errors and work them all at one time. Now let's say a user in the field user can't find what he wants in his price book. So he creates a custom line item. Our system does not allow a field user to choose an income account. So when he creates that invoice and saves it, it's going to come over and it's going to say not ready because we don't want your text choosing where you put your money. That's an office. We consider that an office responsibility or an owner responsibility. So it will sit here and it will say not ready, and you can click on the details, add the income account. You can also see the item that they're using and see if maybe there's another item in the price book that you already have that you can tell them to use. And then that way you don't have to correct these every time. Or we also have a report that's called custom line item report that you can check to see who's creating custom line items, what line items they're creating, and if it's something that you need to add to your price book, you can go ahead and add it and let everybody know that, hey, I've added this in here. It looks like you guys have requested this several times because you're creating it as you go because you can't find it in the price book. And now it's in there. So once they start choosing that one, you'll no longer have to come in and add the income account. Okay, so the best practices for syncing is to manage your customers, your invoice list, and your payment list every day. Go in and take a peek at it, check all your errors, try to get everything synced over, One of the nice things about the payment list is, let's say somebody went into your website and you have our payment link on there and they didn't associate it with an invoice. If you come back in here, I'm going to go back in here and see if I've got some. Someone is trying to select me at the same time, but no. Okay. So you can come in and see that this invoice does not have a check, this payment does not have a check mark for an invoice. And remember I said anything you click on is red, it will do something. You can toggle these and go back from a date range and make sure that everything's clean for, I would do like a month at a time. And then you don't have to go back again and just do the new ones. You can toggle this up and down and it'll bring up all the ones that don't have a check mark. You can go ahead and go to that customer and see it has one payment not fully applied to an invoice, and you can apply it to the invoice at that time if there is one, or this may be a down payment, so it may sync over to the customer in QuickBooks and just be waiting for you to create the invoice and then reassign it at that time. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Everybody's being real quiet. There's nothing in the chat.
Yes, ma'am. I do, please.
Okay, what can I help you with?
So I went over to my auto sync status and I put in the ones that say not, it says not ready.
Mm-hmm,
So I go into the, when it says not ready, I go over to details
mm-hmm,
and I click on details.
mm-hmm.
And it'll say example class or residential. So I try to put residential and then save.
Yes, so
And
if
they're still not doing anything. It's saying not ready.
Okay, so usually when we load when we start you out, we'll put in some example items like example class, example things in your price book. And so when you come into your price book, you may see things that have um, let's go down to service, have an income account assigned that is example. So it would say here example. So you would want to change this to something that is actually an income account so that you don't have to fix these every time, because an example one will not sync over there. Okay. And so let me move this out of the way so I can close it. So in your settings, when you go to account and tax settings, do you have anything in there? How long have you been with us?
A little over a year now,
A little
or
over a year?
maybe 2 years now.
Okay.
So
And do you have any other income accounts in this section?
I'm looking to see what.
So if you're over here on your invoice list,
That's what I was on, was the
yeah.
invoice list.
Okay. So if you click on the details next to one of them that says not ready, is this field blank?
Okay, so when I see one like that, because I clicked on the auto sync status and put not, or the ones that are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
One like that, I always go in and put sales where it says class.
Mm-hmm.
I always go in and put sales or um, something like that.
Mm-hmm. But does this
Um,
say
like I
example
have one
here?
right now and it says $65 and there's nothing in the thing. So I go up and I put service
Mm-hmm.
and I push save. Then that goes to the green check mark, but they're still not saying not ready on the yellow thing
So
where it says
if it once you save it, it's going to say ready to sync, and then it's going to try to sync. It's going to try to sync if you've added these fields in here. So is it syncing successfully when it goes to ready?
um, I'm not at my computer, I'm at Michael's, so
Okay.
I'll have to go try it on mine.
Okay. Okay.
Because mine is what's got the QuickBooks on it, but as of right now, I don't have we're switching some stuff over computer and phone wise, so
Mm-hmm.
it's I'm having a little trouble right now.
Okay, no problem. So you're logged in onto his computer.
I
Um,
am right now, yes, ma'am.
okay. And
And he doesn't have the QuickBooks on his like I do. Mine's the main computer for the
okay.
building. So,
Okay, so if you want to hang out for just a minute after we answer the rest of the questions, I can go ahead and put you in a breakout room with one of our specialists and you can share your screen. I don't want you to share your sensitive information in the group.
right.
Um,
Yes, ma'am.
so so we'll put you in one of the breakout rooms and you can share your screen in there and they can take a look at it for you and
On my
see.
on my computer in my office. Yes, ma'am.
Actually on his because they'll be able to see what the options are in the details when you share the screen, and then
Okay.
they'll be able to look up here in the settings and see what's going on for you.
Okay.
Okay?
I
Okay.
appreciate it.
And your name, ma'am? I'm sorry?
Bonnie.
Bonnie. Okay, hang out for a second for me, Bonnie, and we'll go ahead and get you taken care of. It looks like Jason had a message, answer a question too. It says, is there any way to make a form of invoice specifically for a down payment? Okay, so what you can do, um, we also have the ability to do progress billing. So if you have a proposal, you can convert it in stages and take it for like a down payment. Is that what you're asking? Or do you just want to have an invoice for a down payment and then when it comes time to do the final, you just create an invoice for what is left? There's several ways to do this. So let's go to a job. Anything red, you can click on it. So if I had a proposal, okay, I've got one proposal here. I can go convert to invoice and you can choose. You can choose to convert the invoice to a percentage of the total proposal. So if you need 10% down, you can go ahead and choose that. You can choose a line item to do that, or you can just go total proposal amount, convert to invoice, and then you can change it. Let's see if it'll go for me. And you can change it to say air handler, and I'm going to put down payment and I'm going to put $500 because this wasn't that much. And then maybe put something in here, 2000 due upon completion, something like that. You can do that. Um, and so that would mean that if it was taxable or not taxable, you could take that off. And then you could send them this. They would know that the down payment is $500 and 2000 would be due upon completion. So that when you came back in here again, it's a deactivated debit. Yes, I had a deactivated tax group. So you got to watch your tax groups. Then I could come back in here and go to proposal, convert to invoice. So you can either use the system to manually figure it for you, or you can come in here and change this to be the final price of 2000. Can't do math because it should have been 250. Okay, deposit received on 03/03/2026. Can't spell either. So typing and spelling are not optional. Final payment, $2,000. And then save this. I'll turn my tax off here. And then you can send them this the second one for the final when you're done. Does that help? Is- oh, great. Thank you. Okay. So like I said, but you remember you can use that when you convert it to choose those other options. So you can do it like three different ways, whatever makes sense to you. Everybody uses the system differently. So just take a peek at those and see which one will work for you. I thought there might be anything else. Hi, Torsten, how are you? And anything else that anybody has any questions about? Okay, we're coming up on the end of our Q&A time. So does anybody else have any sync errors or anything like that that they'd like to talk to a customer support specialist? If you do, kind of put your name in the chat, and we'll go ahead and we'll put you in. I have two, and I have two chat rooms open. So what we'll do is we'll put Bonnie in the first one because she's already asked to go into one, so she can share her screen. And then if anybody else, I'll go ahead and put them in the other room. And if we have more than two, we'll just kind of trade people out as they finish. And if you, Torsten, you're so funny. Thank you. So if anybody else doesn't have anything else or any other questions, we'll go ahead. You can go ahead and log out, and we'll hang out with the people who still need help, and then go ahead and close it out. And then by probably tomorrow, this replay will be up. Like I said, if you go to the Help Center and search for help and type in Solution Studio, we're kind of keeping this separate from our other trainings because those are the basic onboarding trainings. So we wanted to make sure that maybe people who were starting didn't get into the deep end of the pool before they were ready. So you come into Solution Studio, click on that. It tells you a little bit about it. If this is where you sign up, if you click on this, it's going to open it in a new tab and you can go get signed up, and the replays and the transcripts will be linked in here.